Hello, welcome back for this fifth and final video in the Chief Specialty Pattern Tooling series. And in this video, we're going to go over the feathers and this headdress, finish out the last few details. It's going to be a pretty short video, but we wanted to finish out this pattern. If you have missed any of these, be sure to go back, check out parts 1 through 4. We started from the very beginning, worked this whole thing through. So as you're jumping on here, say hello. Appreciate you guys taking your time to be on here live with me. And let me know if you have seen all 5 of these videos, or if this is your 5th one. I'm curious. I want to hear that. So let me know. Love to see what you think as we're rounding that down here to the end. Now, what I'm going to come through with here is my XX Steep checkered bevel from Barry King. And this one here, this is a little different style of doing feathers than the other feather tutorial that I have just on feathers, if you've seen that. And there's, again, lots of different ways to do things. So this is just another style I wanted to go through on here because this is what I had done on the original pattern. So if you ordered this pattern, you get the PDF download of the line art, which we started with when we started tooling on this here. But then you'll also get the picture of the final tooled piece. And so I wanted to show you how I come about with the feather look that we did in there. And as I'm working around the outsides of these feathers, you'll notice that not all these lines are connected, and I'm not beveling them all the way down to the quill of that feather either. They're kind of fading in there. There's a few little detail cuts that don't get beveled. This pattern here, the way we're doing these feathers, it's really open to not actually bevel all of your lines. Lets you add a little bit of texture in there by some of them beveling out, some of them just fading in there. But I'm going through the tops of these feathers here real quick. Touching in a few of these lines. You see that just brings that little extra dimension to them from just being cut in there. You see that extra shadowing coming in on the outsides. Okay, we'll come down here. Same thing down here. Again, this is kind of a rocking through a quick way of doing these. Now you can, if you like the other look of the feathers that we do better, you can tool your feathers on here any way you want, really. You use your pattern and just get the silhouette of the flowers and then fill in however you'd like to on your detail. But my thought behind it when I was actually drawing this pattern out is I wanted the flowers to have some dimension and kind of have a neat look to them. However, I wanted them not as detailed as I do some of the other feathers that I typically do, where they're more of a staple piece. There's so much going on with the floral work in his face and in the top of that headdress that I wanted some contrast between the feathers and that floral work. And I was worried if I get too much detail in my feathers that it would almost blend with my floral work a little bit. And so I wanted them to really be kind of eye-catching right off the bat. You know, when you first glance there, they stick out separate from your floral work as feathers. Okay, again, you see down here, kind of rounding those corners a little bit, but fading them in there, making sure we get nice clean bevel lines, but I'm just starting them deep out there on that edge and fading as we go towards the center there. Yeah, Josh, extra steep on the bevel there. This is actually my XX steep checkered one from Barry. I like it because it doesn't leave a big shadow out there. It gives a pretty crisp, dark line there. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Let me know in the comments how many of you guys have seen all the videos, or how many of the videos in this Chief series that you've watched. If this is your first one, or if you've caught a couple along the way, or if you've been with us the whole time and caught all 5 videos now in this series. Take a note about time, huh? All right, I'm glad to see you on here. Appreciate you guys taking your time to catch us live. Now right here, you can hear me beveling that a little harder. And this is actually the back of this feather here that's kicking out over that. So I wanted to kind of bevel that in pretty well and get some dimension off of this feather behind it, because I wanted to make sure that it differentiates in there and it doesn't just wind up being some crosshatch lines in the midst of that and lose track of what it is there. Andy, hello, how are you? Appreciate you jumping on there. Again, as you guys are popping on here, let me know how many of the Chief series videos you guys have seen so far. If this is number 1, 2, 3, or 5 for you. And again, if you've missed any of them and want to go back to check them out, the easiest place to find them so you don't have to scroll so bad on the Facebook feed is YouTube. These videos have all gone to my YouTube channel. They're in their own playlist. But my YouTube channel is just Joe Mealing. So JoeMeling. And there's actually a link to that in the description on this post if you're here on Facebook. All right, Eugene's been on for all of them. Right on. Richard's caught them all, and a couple even live. Very cool. Seeing a few of these comments as they're rolling in, trying to keep an eye on there as I'm tooling, not lose track of any questions that come up. But if you do have questions, be sure to let me know. Love to answer those the best I can as we're on here live. Or if you're watching on the replay, go ahead and stick those in there. And we'll try to get those as quick as we can. All right, how about tooling along? Has anybody got their pattern going? I've got a couple private messages on pictures of the patterns that you guys have been tooling. Love to see any more of them. You feel free to shoot them in a message to me, or even just drop them in the comments. Love to see your guys' take on this pattern. Okay, so you see the difference in those feathers just looking at that top side of them versus the bottom side that we haven't beveled yet. It's not a lot that we're doing. It's just really touching in there, but it makes a makes a pretty big difference. And I'll show you, once we get through these, I'll show you just a couple other little things we could touch off with if you don't want to, if you want a little different look, but maybe you don't want to replace these feathers altogether with, you know, trying to take single feathers out of the feather pattern pack and put in there, but maybe you just want to add a little bit more to these ones. I'll show you that as well, but like I said, I wanted to get it through here with what we had on that printable PDF that you get to start with. Okay, now we're getting rolled in here. This bottom side goes pretty quick because you got them halfway covered up by the other feathers there when we're layering them. Somebody had asked at one point how long this pattern takes start to finish tooling. So not including any finish work, like if we were going to be doing dye or paint work on it, but just the tooling. We'd have to go back and add up the videos, but I think we're probably about 4 hours on it right now. But that's, I mean, as you guys can see, that's when we're going along, that's keeping tools moving. I don't hang out a whole lot just sitting there in between steps on them. Obviously in these videos we've slowed down a little bit here and there to explain a few things or show some tools, but really not too much. We've been kind of just moving right along. So I would say if you're gonna sit down to tackle this pattern, you know, probably maybe in a couple sittings, but you could probably plan on, you know, 4 to 8 hours depending on experience level and tooling speed and that sort of thing. I missed one of our quills there on the inside. Get that. All right. Yeah, Josh, great comment there. Good work takes time. I like to be efficient as I can as far as like working one tool all the way through. You know, I'm not going back and forth between tools a lot. There's a few times where like this bevel comes out throughout my process, but you know, you don't see me picking up a mule's foot to put it in here and then putting it down, working on something else, and then doing a mule's foot over there. Like when I pick that up, I go through the whole pattern and get it done. So there's places like that and things you can do to be efficient that will help speed you up without compromising the quality of your work. You know, take time where you need it and make things right. You know, and when I say right, that means how you want them to look. I try to stress that as much as I can, that with any of this stuff, yeah, we go over some fundamentals that can help serve as guidelines for you, but ultimately it's art, right? And who's to say that there's a right or wrong way on art? You know, that's why I love seeing everybody's take on the different patterns that you guys tool, whether it's in specialty patterns or patterns out of the book or pattern packs. I love seeing that stuff because I get to see your interpretations of them too. You know, some people will tool them and they'll look similar to how I tool them. Other people put some extra different twists on there, switch some things up, or integrate them within you know, something else they're doing, use part of a pattern, and so it's really neat to see that stuff. Okay. Oops. Man, I told you on the last video too, we're going to get through one of these without me hitting the camera, just not this one. All right. Now, just this last little touch off that I'm going to do up here on this headdress. There's a little, or on the headband there. Just need to bevel off that just a little bit there. And then what I did on it is I just put a little crosshatch in here. Just the antique picked it up and touched things off just a little bit, makes it a little bit different. So that is going to be how we do it to get that same look on your feathers as what's going to be on that PDF that you get. But again, if you want to do this, just take and transfer these same feathers over, but you want a little bit different look. You don't want to actually switch those feathers out for ones out of the feather pack. Then here's a couple other things you can do. Okay, one, we can take that vertical line thumbprint and you can come right in here just like we do on the other feathers and run that right along there, making sure those lines run in the same direction as your feathers are going to be coming out of there. Okay, you can see that it's not a lot of difference. It's a little bit of a subtle difference though. I'm going to work it right back up this side of the quill. You see that kind of darken that up a little bit, shadow that in there. Now I'm going to come back with my swivel knife. Again, it's another thing you can do if you want to add on just a little touch to it, but we can come in along that feather and just bring in some more cuts here as well. After we've already gone through and beveled those first initial exterior cuts. So these will just help bring a little extra added detail if you want. Now again, I didn't do it like this in the original pattern, just wanting to really kind of differentiate the feathers off of that floral work, but you know, again, that was just kind of how I felt when I first did that. There's nothing wrong with adding some more detail in there too. Step that off a bit. Kind of gives a neat look to it, and again a little more detailed. And these cuts I'm starting deep out there towards the end and then fading them off as I come towards that quill too. There you go. So that's another way to touch those off a little bit more if you wanted to add a little extra detail in there as well. But there we have it. We are down to the end. I'm going to take a quick check, make sure there was no questions that I had missed. But again, if you're watching this, let me know how many of these have you caught. Is this your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth video here in the Chief tooling series? But if you've missed them and you want to see how this went from very start when we transferred over our original line art pattern over to the leather, all the way up, step-by-step tooling that, showing the tools in detail, be sure to go back, check all the videos. You can follow the link in the description on this post to my Facebook, or to my YouTube page, excuse me, where all those are in a playlist by themselves. So thank you again, and we will see you on here for more tooling in the future.